Let me get this straight. Well, first of all, good morning. It's a chilly one out there. Jack, Heath, J Dog on the boards in our brand new studios. Well, it's kind of like remodeling your house or building a new kitchen or bathroom. We're a few months old here, but new studios, huge studios. Love them here in the capital region. J Dog has his own room. Good morning. It is chilly out there, about zero to start, but we have a heat wave coming. It's going to get up to 32, a balmy 32, 33 degrees today, but starting overnight and this morning, zero. J Dog, looks like we do have more snow moving in tomorrow night into Thursday. Not a whole heck of a lot, maybe some more on Sunday. Hey, it's February in New Hampshire. Aren't we supposed to be cold and snowy? But here you go. As we get going this morning, got a packed show for you. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, hardly can keep up with all this stuff that is really going on, but he'll have the latest because there's so much with this new administration. Not even a month into it, it's hard to keep track. We're going to hear from some of our regular contributors as well. Alicia Presence Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online. Talk a little bit about University of New Hampshire looking at a $20 million budget cut in 2026, and they're doing this or have to do it without Elon Musk. Speaking of Elon Musk, wow, and Donald Trump, wow. Can I say wow? When I hear and see Senator Elizabeth Warren of Massachusetts, the People's Republic from Cambridge, yelling and screaming, oh, she's upset that they're going through these agencies and finding wasteful spending. She is fuming. I can't believe it. This non-elected person with all this authority doing this to our federal spending. What is happening? Oh, my goodness. Oh, my goodness. Let me ask you a question, because she's not the only Democrat upset. When Musk uncovers that FEMA just spent, was 59, you just heard in the news, $59 million to luxury or nice hotels in New York City, not to build them up for transitional housing for veterans or single parents, but to house migrants, illegal migrants, and the public isn't stupid. And don't we remember when someone named Donald Trump, the candidate, the Republican nominee, went to North Carolina saying, after the aftermath of Helene, before the election, saying, where's all the FEMA money? Mayorkas has said they had run out. Where's all the FEMA money? Where did it go? Oh, geez, where did it go over the last couple of years? All the requests for emergency shelter and housing in cities across the country for migrants, legal migrants. We had 10 million people coming to the country the last 4 years, at least. So I remember one of the mainstream media networks, I won't say which one, but it might have began with A and end with C, say, oh, Trump is spreading falsehoods and lies about FEMA. No, he wasn't in North Carolina. No, he wasn't. See, this is what people like Senator Warren and others don't realize. Taxpayer money, it's money in, money out, just like your household budget. Money in, money out. Taxpayer money in, spending on the way out. Doesn't matter what silo it is. If FEMA had under budgeted for hurricanes and over budgeted for migrant hotel support in major cities, well, the money was under their control, under the Department of Homeland Security and FEMA. And then we just find out this week, $59 million going to New York City to house migrants. Here's the point. Wasteful spending. We have someone corrected me yesterday who's pretty good on numbers. I said 35 trillion. We have a $36 trillion debt. 36 trillion. And if you give a damn about Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security down the road, you better start cutting. So this is good. And I did say yesterday the Trump administration also has to keep an eye on consumer prices. They're going to knock those down. But this cutting of wasteful spending in Washington and efficiency is good. Long overdue. Maybe 50 years overdue. Long overdue. And if you want to moan and yell and whine that Musk being appointed by the president to head up the Department of Government Efficiency, known as DOGE, if he's unelected, that's what you want to make a point. We've had enough elected officials spending us into the ground for how many years? And by the way, the senators like Elizabeth Warren, here's a really crystal clear point. She's all upset. These unelected people are doing all these things. She has unelected people working for her and her staff doing these things for her. The president won an election. He appointed this. And this is probably one of the sharpest business people on earth. And they don't like it because he is finding out a lot of stuff that makes everyone in Washington look bad. Wait till he starts going through Department of Education. Wait till he starts looking at more higher paid federal employees that haven't gone into work for 3 years physically. Wait till he starts going into the defense budget, and Secretary Hegseth is welcoming it. The defense budget, so huge, so huge. Wait till you start seeing what the Pentagon is being asked to pay for things like tools and equipment from private producers where they're gouging the Pentagon. Let me ask you a question to Senator Elizabeth Warren. Do you think you're going to win this debate in public opinion if you keep up there every day whining and screaming about Musk, and in a couple of weeks he holds up a tool set, like a tool set that you're going to fix your car engine with, a tool set, and he says this tool set you can go to Lowe's or Home Depot and get for under $50. The Pentagon had to spend $2,800 for it. Do you think the public's going to be on his side or your side? Do you think the public's going to be on his side or your side? All right. Hey, listen, we got a packed show for you. We got some programming notes. Everything with us is the pulse of an H, in case you haven't noticed. So I know as we all age and place in life, it's a hard time remembering our passwords, our pins. I mean, I have a hard time doing it. We make it easy for you, whether it's our poll question on X, the pulse of an H, and we'll tell you what the results were yesterday. And by the way, the question this morning, do you think FEMA has been sending too much money housing migrants in American cities over the last 2 years? Yes or no? Do you think FEMA's been spending, like Musk said, $59 million in New York City? Do you think FEMA's been spending too much money? FEMA's been spending too much money housing migrants in American cities? Yes or no? J-Dog will tell us if you're ready now, buddy. Yesterday's poll, or I give you a minute. Are you good? All right, take it away, J-Dog. Wow. That's one of our most divided ones so far. That's pretty tight. Again, consumer prices, inflation. We're going to make sure, even though the making more steel and iron are good things here in America, no doubt, no one should make that argument. But how much is it going to be passed down to the consumer for home building and all that? Real quickly, though, automobiles. The Pulse of an H. Get our app. Thousands of people are listening each morning now on their smartphones. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H, our network of really, really good AM and FM news talk stations, including WTSN up in New York County, Cumberland County, Maine, Seacoast of New Hampshire, Rochester, Dover, Portsmouth, Hampton. You got it. 98.1 FM, 1270 AM. Lakes region, we have you blanketed and covered, including, in addition to WEMJ, AM and FM, 98.3 FM, HD2, if you love that digital crystal clear stuff. WTPL 107.7 FM, Manchester, Concord. Everywhere else, worldwide, the Pulse of an H. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. I loved it when former Governor Sununu would say when he was at home or in his office, I'd say, hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H, and it would come on in the show. He was laughing. Also, go read about see details for my cowboy trip this October 7th. We'll tell you more about that this morning. We're going out west, Yellowstone, the Badlands, Grand Teton, Jackson Hole, Buffalo, the home of Buffalo Bill. We're going to see it all, the Buffalo, the range. I've never been out there. You can go. All you got to be doing, all you got to be, great value, by the way, hotels, meals, transportation, accommodations, expert guides. Is you got to be willing to have the trip of a lifetime. For me, it's a bucket list, and I think it is for anyone else. That trip in a week, we're going to cover the whole West, the Wild West, and see it all up front and have fun. That's this October 7th. Go to thepulseofanh.com, thepulseofanh.com. You'll see the cowboy trip. Coming up in the 10 o'clock hour, one of our great in-studio guests, gold. That's right. Adam from the Alpine Gold Exchange in the state's largest city. He's going to talk about precious metals and all that and why you might want to take a look at this. I don't know if you saw gold the other day hit an all-time high as markets have been very uncertain with all the change. That's coming up. And speaking of our audience, you never know because we got a great facility. We're streaming again online. Our Pulse, the app, phones, smart devices are getting thousands each morning, tens of thousands a month. And of course, we also have a good little, we have fun stuff going on here. There you go. Yep, there you go. Yep, a good fun, get some group, people in house. You never know. Live studio audience, just like the Tonight Show, having fun, only it's news talk. Hey, Google, hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Jack Heath, J-Dog on the boards. Alicia Preston's Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online. She was out jogging on Hampton Beach at 5:30 this morning, -4. Back in a moment. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. I hope you're having a good start to your morning. A lot of people heading down to Florida or there right now, and a lot of people listening there. Gorgeous weather down there. Enjoy it this week. Alicia Preston Anthopoulos, Seacoast Online, joining us live. She was out on Hampton Beach in front of her home this morning, jogging at about 4. Well, it was about 5 this morning. It was about 4 or 5 below. Good for you. Good for you. Do you still take those morning swims out there in the Atlantic, right off the beach there in the this time of year? Hey, is it just me, or do you think the more that the Chuck Schumers and Elizabeth Warren, Senator Warren yell and scream in these press conferences about Elon Musk not being elected, who is he? He's robbing the bank. He's looking at our taxpayer spending. He has no right to do this. the more he exposes waste and inefficiency. Don't you think over time that the public's going to be saying, I really like what they're doing, and why is she so opposed to this? Don't you think she might be on the wrong side of public opinion, or do you think she's on the right side? Right. I'd agree with you. But what's one of her biggest objections, instead of talking about waste, like FEMA spending that much money on housing migrants in New York City hotels, instead of talking about waste and spending, to just harp on him being not an elected official, doesn't she realize that most people understand he was appointed by Trump, but she has staff members on her staff as United States Senator that write legislation, they write law that she's going to propose. She doesn't write it, but they're not elected. They're not elected. Well, who cares about that? Yeah. Yeah. And by the way, we've had enough elected politicians. We have a $36 trillion debt. Hey, let me ask you a question, Alicia, because even Pete Hegseth, the defense secretary, is welcoming a review of spending and waste in the Department of Defense, which we know they're a huge part of our budget, an important one, but there's tons of waste. It's been probably 30 years, and I'm trying to think who exposed a lot of this. Um, where we showed how much the Department of Defense would be charged. But can you imagine Musk in a few weeks, or his team, or Trump saying, you know, here's a tool set that you can buy at Home Depot or Lowe's for under $60, and the same tool set, same tools to repair stuff. This is how much the Department of Defense was charged: $3,200 for this tool set. This is your money. This is your money at work. Do you think people are going to care if he's elected or not? DEI workplace standards. That's what that was. Well, this is a good point you made. Vivek Ramaswamy used to make this point when he ran, and I know he's running for Ohio governor now, but he was part of this. He said the executive branch has to take this purview because Congress isn't. In other words, if I was advising Elizabeth Warren, or your point's a good one, maybe someone else, another more moderate senator being the spokesperson, maybe Amy Klobuchar comes out, but they should be saying, I don't really love Donald Trump's style or Elon Musk, but they're doing an important thing. They're pointing out waste. We have a huge $36 trillion debt that threatens Medicare, Medicaid, things I care about. So what we're doing in Congress is we're going to work with them. We want them to come report with us before they announce stuff. Work with us, look at the budget. We'll work together on eliminating waste. And I've asked my own team to look into certain areas to eliminate waste, whether it's NOAA, whether it's HHS, but let's work together. I think people would say that's commonsensical, but you don't hear that from Congress. And then when people like when they point out that Doge has canceled more than $180 million in contracts from HHS, including almost $200,000 for a Fauci museum exhibit. For a museum exhibit on Dr. Anthony Fauci, I think most people are going to say, so I know we have checks and balances, but no one else has been doing this. The last time it might have been Ross Perot. The last time I'm trying to think when someone combed through some of this wasteful spending, it might have been Alicia back when you know what it might have been when Warren Rudman and the late Paul Songus were doing that Concord Coalition where they were talking about the waste in government, and that's the last time. They had a clock. Remember, they had a clock that was ticking. How long ago was that? That was when Bill Clinton got elected. We haven't done this. No one's done this since then. Yeah. 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 Or like not a bridge in a certain state, but like a walking trail, $12 million to protect the horned toad. And you're like, who got this through Congress? Well, yeah. Well, again, this is to me not funny, but I can't help but to chuckle. This is exactly what Washington needs, a shakeup. This is exactly if anyone thinks it was working well, guess what? Why do you think Trump was elected? And it was it's funny when Brett Baer was interviewing Kamala Harris and that Fox interview, like the only one she did, and he said she was going on about how offensive, how terrible, what a threat Donald Trump was to democracy. He's just awful. We can't elect him. And Brett Baer goes, well, how come the polls are neck and neck in some states he's ahead of you if he's that bad? And she couldn't answer that. She goes, well, it's an election. These things are tough. He represents change. People want change. So we'll see where it goes. All right, Alyssa. What about State House? Quick 30 seconds. Anything cooking? Yep. Right. All right. Thanks a lot, Alicia. Stay warm. It's going to get up to 33 today. Got a heat wave coming. All right. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play the Pulse of an H. Back with our own White House correspondent, John Decker, next. All right, we are back, and we're going to be joined, I believe, in a few moments or a moment from our own White House correspondent, John Decker, who, by the way, in this current go around, he's been covering this stuff for a while. He's right up there, front and center. People, there's a side story on the press corps and how they're changing it, and that is they're bringing in smaller stations, podcasters, a whole different shake on media because people are getting their information. I mean, look at our streaming numbers each morning. We have worldwide listeners now. I mean, we have our school teacher listening in Helsinki, Finland. So, New York, Pennsylvania, in addition to our network of AM and FM news talk stations. So, fun stuff happening. But with all the stuff happening, people, it's hard to keep up. There is another big day today. President Trump, speaking of Middle East and what's going on over there, everything about talking about what do we do with Gaza, the Gaza Strip. John Decker, our own White House correspondent, front and center. Good morning, John. And John, I meant to ask you this the other morning, but I know it's a process with the Senate, and it's a very complicated process how the Senate works. Maybe it is to some people, but the final the 4 votes for some of these key nominations, including Robert F. Kennedy Jr. for HHS, seem to have been delayed. Thank you, John Decker, again, our own White House correspondent, and enjoy the press conference. Not enjoy, but do what you do. You do it well. Thank you, sir. Again, I was thinking, I don't know what it is, but as the show grows, and it is a blessing. And by the way, I want to mention again yesterday, J Dog, it was Suncook Valley Tree Service, and I think his first name was Adam, the owner, made that generous contribution after Wyatt Varney was on our show yesterday. He came in here. He's a senior in high school in Alton, and he's doing this ice fishing derby this Saturday to benefit veterans. He's 17 years old to benefit Veterans Count part of Easter Seals. 17. So he's raising money Saturday with the ice fishing derby and tournament. I said, anyone out there want to help this young man? And Suncook Valley Tree Service stepped up. And he had a big smile on his face. $250. That's a lot of entries for the fishing. So you did a lot. So I say, if you're in anywhere around that area, Suncook Valley or that area, and you've heard it, if you got to do tree work, ice damage, trees are down, spring storms, call this company. They support veterans. They support veterans. I was thinking, though, during the break, as the show grows, and now we're talking about streaming numbers. Wow. And we are getting a lot of them. And people are changing a lot, but we still have our great network of AM and FM news talk stations. We have our new podcast network coming, but a lot of stuff happening here. And I love it because I think we're on the right side of where things are going. I'll come back talk about community colleges in New Hampshire versus UNH, which was looking at the University of New Hampshire system, but it's mainly the 4-year undergraduate colleges. They're looking at a $20 million um, uh, cut in next year. Cut 20 million bucks. And the point of all that is you got to look at where the market is. And where the market is where the consumer is. Where the consumer is why a restaurant either fails or does well and thrives. It either closes or it thrives if it's serving what people want, if it's providing something they can't get somewhere else. So we're growing. No disrespect to the NPRs of the world and other networks, they're not growing. The larger out of state networks are in debt. The traditional mainstream media, like the networks in, I'm talking the ones in New York City, LA, DC, the ABCs, the NBCs, the MSNBCs, the CBSs, they don't know it. They're archaic and becoming more and more irrelevant. More people now, the White House press corps, Caroline Levitt, the White House press corps, they're basically putting like podcasters in there to ask questions of her, the president, the administration. Trump, before the election, sat down for 3 hours, not with any of the networks, but Joe Rogan in his podcast. It's all changing, and it's good to be on the right side of it. It really is. It's been it's a good thing to be on the right side. Yeah. Yep. Yep. It's fun. It's fun. Yep. We got a little group here today. It's fun. And but I was thinking with my high school friends that listen online now down in Swampscott, Marblehead, and Salem, Mass. They all chuckle because they tune in now. And good morning, Kenny Perlow down there. He gets up early and walks around Marblehead Harbor. Tough life, Kenny. He's a realtor. He lives down there. Swampscott High School. We had a good time. Good buddy. So good morning, Kenny. Great family. I remember his dad, Sid, and having dinner and meals at his house. Just great family. And but Kenny, I always laughed that we had my Stanley School teachers, and then some of the teachers that I had where I'd be maybe in detention after class because I was a little rambunctious in the classroom and maybe I didn't behave, and I really did not enjoy math or science. I was more of the language history person. Go figure. But I remember one of them, I think it was Miss Dustin or Mrs. Dustin, used to tell me that I was not going to amount to anything in my life. Of course, that made me, want to have more fun in class. And I'd say, but I can't sit here for a half hour after school. I got hockey practice. She goes, well, you should have thought of that before you and Jeff Earp got into a wrestling match in the middle of my algebra class. I go, well, sorry about that. But I wonder what she would say today if I'd say, oh, I've got my show. We're going to our own White House correspondent, John Decker, covering the president today with the King of Jordan. She'd probably go, well, there's no way. No, I'm kidding. But let me just say this about politics for a moment. And our new podcast, by the way, Contact Politics with Brad Card. We had fun with Jim Messina, former President Obama's top political person. What a fun podcast, because he was unplugged, sharp person. He can talk about why Trump is doing well with all these changes and why people in his own party don't get it. But anyway, the point is, I'm looking at the Democrats right now, and there's continued stories on Musk and Trump exposing fraud, waste, and inefficiency in the federal government. Why would anyone, regardless of how much you dislike Trump or Musk, why would anyone stand up and think you can fight this? I'm asking a question straight up. I mean, I remember when Ross Perot would stand up there as a independent presidential candidate in his whiteboards and talk about waste like business. These folks are doing it. They're going through, they're stopping payments. That's why the USAID has been, even if a judge has suspended getting rid of all but 2,000 of the employees, that's why they're shutting it down, because they're finding all this foreign aid and they want to know where it's going and why, and they're going to eliminate the waste. You don't think there's waste in the federal government? Are you kidding me? They're going through, they're looking at these departments, and they've already found a ton of it, and including this FEMA payment to New York City hotels to house migrants of almost $60 million. So the politicians who are speaking and, protesting the most are totally, they're not on the right side of what people are going to say is great and good, because people look at Washington and they look at waste and they look at priorities and just waste, because we don't have that luxury when we're, paying our utility bills and our mortgages and our rents and groceries, or a business owner doesn't have that, can't have that much waste and stay in business. State governments like New Hampshire, they get to balance their budgets. They can't operate like that. So what? But when you stand up there and you think you're going to fight and win the court of public opinion that they have no right to do this, I got news for you. It's taxpayer money. People want to see the lid taken off the cover. It's been too long. I said the last time I think might have been the late Paul Tsongas and the late Warren Rudman, Republican Democrat, when they came together and formed the Concord Coalition and had the clock ticking on the debt. They were right back then. You know how long ago that was? Do you know how long ago that was? That was the cycle that Bill Clinton came up in one. That's how long ago this was. We've gone decades, and the elected incumbent powerful politicians like Senator Elizabeth Warren from the People's Republic of Cambridge, Massachusetts, standing up there and screaming yesterday, screaming, fuming that Elon Musk has no right to do this. Senator, it's elected officials that help create this $36 trillion debt. And he's appointed by the president. He has every right to do this. And they're going to keep going. And they're going to keep going. And they're going to expose more than you could ever imagine of waste, like it's never been done before. They're going to do it through education, the Pentagon. They're going to go through agriculture. They're going to go through every agency. And you know what? After about a year, a buddy of mine said this morning, good idea. They should put up a graph like Ross Perot did. Simple page. This is what we've cut. This is the waste and fraud we found. And this is what it results to each taxpayer in the debt, or, how it's going to help you. That's what they need to do. And I'm not in the business of telling President Trump and his team what to do, but that's what they need to do. They need to, in the end, Ross Perot was good at it. Ross Perot was a master at it, actually. People forget. And, we in this country forget a lot of things. But in my humble opinion, what I think President Trump and Musk and Doge, Department of Government Efficiency, need to do in about 6 to 9 months from now, they need to total the billions of trillions of dollars in waste and fraud and wasteful spending in the federal government and put it up like Ross Perot did on a whiteboard behind them, and then say, this is how much we've saved the American taxpayer. And this is what it boils down to each individual taxpayer. Show the individual taxpayer out there that are paying the bills for government what they've saved them in waste and fraud, what the Pentagon was charged for a wrench set that you could have bought at Lowe's or Home Depot for $50, $1,400. Show them the waste and show them how much that benefited the average American taxpayer. They do that, and they're going to be on the right side of public opinion. And Senator Elizabeth Warren is going to look like, well, kind of what she is. Kind of an unhappy, liberal, progressive politician who can't believe that November 5th went the way it did. Well, I'm sorry, Senator Warren. By the way, do you know that Elizabeth Warren going into this year after November 5th, you know what her number one priority was? Not railing against Elon Musk. She said her top goal in 2025, one of them was to reduce the cost of taking care of your pet. I'm not kidding. To reduce the cost of taking care of your pet. So these incumbent politicians in Washington, and if you don't believe me, and maybe we'll come back, J-Dog, and share a little of this, but the Oliver Anthony song, Rich Men North of Richmond, this shows you how crazy some people are in this country. That song that he sang, that he composed on YouTube, became like the number one song in the land, all genres. And it was talking about what President Trump and Musk are now doing. The rich men north of Richmond, Virginia, the rich men north of Richmond, and how out of touch. And when you see Nancy Pelosi worth about $150, $170 million from her career in public service, it makes people want to throw up. Just telling you, it does. And they're tired of like the Mitch McConnells, both sides of the aisle, these politicians in there too long, rambling around with all their power and money. And I guess what? The clock has expired on you. People have had enough. They want change. They want the houses cleaned. And the cleaning process, it's almost like when you call the Stanley steamer to clean your carpet. And they come in, your carpet looks okay, and they put the hot water down. They start sucking up the dirt out of the carpet, and it's all brown. That's what's happening to Washington. And I got to tell you, it's pretty darn good to see. Some commentary, 603-228-2080. Come back in a moment on the Pulse of an H. All right, we are back. A lot going on. So, University of New Hampshire or the university, and I'm not sure. I have to break this down, to be honest with you. I'm not sure if it's university system, University of New Hampshire, the 4-year undergraduate. We have the trustees that oversee the whole UNH system, community colleges, and I'll come back to this, are a big part of that. But one of the stories I read, and I've been talking about this for about a year now, I mentioned earlier how people complicate a lot of stuff. Business is pretty simple: money in, money out. The customers are what drives it. And if you do something and solve a problem and people are willing to pay for it, you might have a business. But the marketplace is the best way to find gravity and what works. And the marketplace is showing that 4-year undergraduate liberal arts colleges are not growing. Let me repeat that. The marketplace and the data shows they're not growing. So UNH overall, I guess, is looking to cut $20 million, $20 million in New Hampshire next year. That's a big number. Big. They've already made budget cuts over there. And it's because, former Governor Sununu, I think, asked the commission to look at enrollment demographics. Enrollments are going down, not up. Like New Hampshire students going to their own UNH, whether it's Plymouth State, Keene State, UNH Durham, a 4-year undergraduate, the firstborn, numbers are going down, not up. But what's going up? Community college enrollment, because the marketplace demands it. The marketplace demands it. The marketplace wants it. 2-year affordable degrees. Families want it. The students want it because they can afford it. You go there for $6 or $10,000. You get an associate's degree. You're not in debt. You come out and you can make, for example, the trades. You can go study HVAC, electrical, all kinds of plumbing and heating, high-tech, automotive, computerized repairs, and come out and make anywhere from 75 to 90 to 100,000, more than a paralegal with $500,000 in debt. Pretty simple, isn't it? Why complicate it? Why complicate it? And you look at where it's going to get worse for these colleges. I predict in the next 5 years in New England, you are going to hear about lofty universities selling off real estate, selling off buildings and assets to keep the place afloat. They're going to cut in a lot of these tenured professors in the Ivy League colleges that have the biggest endowments. Sorry, classrooms aren't growing. They're shrinking. And I don't mean to say anything. Some of these university professors, it might be fun to see them go out and get a real job. Just saying. Sorry. Chip on the shoulder, I admit. Even though I went to University of Vermont and studied political science and economics, my late dad, who passed too young, proud Marine that he was, went to Harvard after in his late 20s. I think he was almost 30 when he got out after being in the Marines. But Harvard's changed, Princeton changed, Columbia changed. They never were the bastions of indoctrination to hate America, to hate the West, anti-American professors in the political science departments. They don't like this country at all. A lot of them, not all of them. I don't like not all of them. There's some that probably won't even dare show their heads in the faculty room. But some of these professors at Columbia, it's going to be funny when they have to go out and get a real job. But here's the deal. Community colleges are growing. And here in New Hampshire, they're growing big time. They're going up. I mean, those simple graphs, I mentioned Ross Perot, those simple graphs in the chart, trajectory up or the red arrow down. Community college is going up. Enrollments in 4-year college is going down overall. It's a real problem. And you will hear about some of these, more, I don't know what you want to call it, the ones that would let everyone in, but they were like $60,000 a year, undergraduate colleges. They're going to start closing, selling off buildings and real estate. I saw recently on a real estate, I love real estate. I don't know if it was realtor.com or Zillow. I got a posting, 17 acres somewhere. It might have even been in New Hampshire, but it was a college was selling the land. It might have been Vermont, selling the acreage they were closing or selling their assets because they can't stay afloat. Slow death, painful. Would not want to be a college president these days unless it was a community college that's growing. Employers are coming to them. Families, students are coming to them. They're trying to keep up with the demand. Community colleges are like a successful restaurant where there's like a 45-minute wait. The undergraduate colleges are like outside with a menu saying, please come in and try our chicken parm. It's really good. And I see it. I don't want to start a side business. I guess I'm a little bit either too much going on and too much on my plate. But you want to start a side business, you could start looking for land and assets, approach these colleges now and see what they want to sell at a discount before they have to sell it. They'd probably rather get 25, 40 cents in the dollar than zero. And these will be good real estate holdings. And unless the smart college president is the one that's looking at our housing crisis saying, okay, we're cutting, but we have a lot of dorm space that could easily be renovated to be senior housing or apartments. Why don't we start getting some income that way? We got 300 rooms in this dorm that are pretty much going to be 60% empty. Why don't we start renting apartments to get $2,500 per apartment in here? I'm telling you, they got to do something. You got to be smart. Got to think out of the box. What did Ferris Bueller say? You know, life moves fast. Hey, Google. Hey, Alexa, play The Pulse of an Age. Hey, you know, if you've been watching the markets, they haven't been doing real great. What about precious metal and gold? We're going to be hearing from one of our great new sponsors, the Alpine Gold Exchange. If you've never bought gold or silver as an investment or platinum or copper, well, he's going to tell you why maybe you should look at it and how easy it can be. All right, we got a lot coming up. Good morning, New Hampshire, the Pulse of an H. Tell you our poll question on X next.